Hello everyone, welcome to my first devlog on the channel. I've started work on an arcade game project for an arcade store. In addition to the game, I'm also responsible for designing and assembling the arcade cabinet that will house the game. This series is dedicated to sharing the progress of the project with you all. Enjoy! So, I got to work designing with a blank page in front of me. A blank page in front of me. A blank page. Wait, where do I even start? To help me answer this question, I started with a clear problem statement, to make an arcade game. After putting that down, I realized that I wanted my game to be multiplayer, something that people can enjoy together. So, I added that to the problem statement. This gave me an idea that I could create a big circle and put within it everything that my game would be and have. So, I put in multiplayer, mechanical depth, real-time controls, and the definitions and properties just kept coming to me, which made my vision much clearer. Empowered with a clear sense of what I was going to do, I then started working on how I was going to do it. What I mean is, yes, I have decided that my game is going to have mechanical depth and it is going to be easy for beginners to pick up, but how do I achieve that? Well, I can achieve mechanical depth by building elaborate skill chains, easy enough. Then, to ensure that it doesn't overwhelm beginners, I will include just one joystick and two buttons. But in order to make the mechanics deep with such a limited input space, I need to ensure that I increase the response sensitivity of the game. A few ways that I can achieve that is by taking the order of the button presses and the state of other buttons into consideration. You get the gist. I won't sit here and explain to you every design decision I made. Otherwise, we'd never get to the development bit. But I still wanted to include this section for two reasons. One, so that seeing my game design process might give you ideas for your own design process. And two, so that you might be able to tell me where I can make changes to the design or to the design process. In the end, I arrived at an idea that would encapsulate all of these design considerations. A game about battling spaceships. Now, I know exactly what your next thought is. This is one of the most innovative game ideas of all time, and it's definitely not the case that it draws inspiration from one of the first video games ever made. So now that we have a design in our hands, it's time to get started with development. I got to work making a prototype to determine whether the idea had potential. Admittedly, I was a bit rusty at Godot after a 2-month-long hiatus, so with some help from our trusty Godot docs, I was able to get a character moving on the screen. It all started coming back to me after that, and before long, I had a prototype of the game ready. What's that? Why does the prototype have trails, and sound effects, and screen shake? Yeah, about that, I got a bit carried away towards the end. Regardless, I now had a prototype that I could playtest with, so I forced my roommate to play the game with me, and he absolutely wrecked me. Apparently, making games won't stop you from being bad at them. Apart from that, I also learned that spamming the fire button was an overpowered strategy. So, to balance that, I made it so that firing bullets slows you down a little bit, kind of like recoil force. So if you just keep mashing the fire button while moving, you will eventually come to a halt, making you a sitting duck. As a result of making this change, I devised a new design methodology, mapping verb relationships. It works by making a table of all the verbs in your game, so in this case they are rotate, thrust, and shoot, and then defining how each of those verbs affect the other. For example, the verb shoot affects the verb thrust by slowing down the speed of the ship, and the verb thrust affects the verb shoot by modifying where the bullets originate from. I felt that mapping the verb relationships this way and increasing their interrelatedness would lead to a more harmonious and dynamic gameplay experience. After building the prototype and ensuring that the idea was viable, I made a project roadmap. Before jumping into the actual development of the game, I spent some time learning about good software engineering practices and patterns because I want this project to be highly maintainable and robust. The stakes are higher this time because whereas before I was just making games that would sit on my itch profile, this time it will be sitting in an arcade cabinet inside an actual arcade. Hopefully. So I set up a GitHub repository and got started building. Oh, and by the way, the repository is public and is linked in the description. You can get all the project files and play around with them at every stage of the development process. However, I will not be merging any pull requests because this game project is to be a solo effort. This video is already dragging on for quite a while, so we're gonna speed it up a little bit. At the end of day 1, I had a basic ship moving around and firing bullets. Day 2, the ship gets a blue friend that it can destroy and the health is now represented as bars. Day 3, I didn't work that day. Day 4, the ships get a super attack. Day 5, the super is overpowered, so now it's a resource that builds when you don't move. Day 6, solve the problem of players going off-screen by implementing a 5-second rule, which zaps the health of the players if they stay outside of the play area for more than 5 seconds. And today is Day 7. I haven't yet worked on the game, but I'll keep posting progress, hopefully weekly, in the form of these short devlogs. I would love to hear what you guys think of this game. All feedback is greatly appreciated. This has been Cupid. I'll see you in the next one.